First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
Welcome to WUFT News First at 5. I'm Samantha Narson.
And I'm Ophelie Jacobson. Thanks for joining us. A referendum on extending the Wild Spaces Public Places program is coming to your ballot in November. The city of Gainesville held a town hall Tuesday night to gauge public interest. WUFT's Ethan Budowsky joins us now to tell us what you need to know before you head to the polls. Ethan?
Thanks, Ophelia. Concerned Gainesville residents gathered at the MLK Rec Center last night for a first meeting about the tax. I spoke with some of them as well as commissioners and other city workers to learn more about concerns with the project. This is what I found. The Wild Spaces Public Places tax was initially implemented in Alachua County in 2017. It is a 0.5% sales tax with the goal to create, improve, and maintain parks and recreational facilities.
Wild Spaces Public Places has been one of the most successful sales taxes that we've ever had.
However, changes are coming if the tax is extended on this year's ballot. Beginning in 2023, the tax would become a 1% tax. The additional 0.5% would contribute funds to public infrastructure, affordable housing, and other projects, such as renovating fire stations across the county. However, some citizens are concerned about the addition of the 0.5%.
We expected it was going to go to the parks.
An oversight committee was put in place to manage how funds from the tax are spent. Jolie Beatty is an outspoken activist in her community. She believes the committee never really had a say.
I think that their ability to do things has been reduced and reduced.
She says the committee's role became evaluating how funds were used rather than deciding where to use them.
We thought that that would be proactive, forward-looking. Are these projects, do they meet the criteria and stuff like that? Not that once the money's spent, once the money's gone, then they get to evaluate, did it meet the criteria, what should they do?
City Commissioner David Ariola said feedback at meetings will be key to the project.
We absolutely have to get feedback from the community because we want to make sure that we are giving the community projects and priorities that are important to them.
The biggest concern remains the burden it will place on Gainesville taxpayers.
The people that can least afford it are going to bear the brunt of this tax.
However, Ariola assures that the contributions the tax will make to Gainesville will be worth the additional 0.5%. The city estimates the tax will bring in more than $174 million to Gainesville over the 10-year life of the tax. More meetings will be held going forward to gather input about what projects the fund should go towards. It is required that a list of projects the tax would fund be published before you have your say in November. Back over to the desk.
Thanks, Ethan. It looks nice outside today, warm and breezy. I wonder if that will remain through the week.
Yes, Samantha, I really enjoyed my walk into the studio today. Now WUFT's Ashley Weinstein joins us with the weather forecast. Ashley?
So unfortunately, this is what I like to call the calm before the storm. Looking out at our campus cam right now, hardly a cloud in the sky, a couple puffy ones, which is normal for Florida, of course. 84 degrees as those winds are turning southerly. We're seeing an uptick in those temperatures and it's a bit warmer than normal, but unfortunately, as early as tomorrow afternoon, we do have a severe storm warning. We see all of this activity coming through our area, largely starting tomorrow and through the weekend, and I will get more into this later in the show. Back to the desk.
Thanks, Ashley. University of Florida students and faculty are raising awareness about censorship and worries about academic freedom at UF. United Faculty of Florida at UF hosted a teach-in today. The labor union is educating others about how censorship and lack of academic freedom can affect students and professors. Student leader Ashley Sanguino says some UF professors can't teach what they want, like critical race theory. A few were initially denied their traditional side role of providing expert testimony in court. These issues may hurt UF's reputation and its accreditation.
The accrediting agency was kind of suspicious that UF was being influenced by outer influences like our legislation, and so that put us under investigation, which is very dangerous to our degrees, because if the accrediting agency decides that UF is going against their rules and going against our standards, it devalidates our own degrees and what we've been learning.
The faculty union plans to continue raising awareness about these issues with future events.
As college and high school graduation season approaches, Gainesville restaurants are anticipating big business. Spurrier's Gridiron Grill opened during the pandemic in August 2021. At full capacity, the restaurant has very few reservations left during graduation week. While the spread of COVID-19 has decreased, restaurants are now fulfilling requests while following CDC guidelines. Spurrier's has been taking inquiries since December. Inflation has impacted the restaurant business as the cost of goods is up 12% higher than August. With increasing demand, restaurants like Spurrier's are implementing a mobile kitchen to reach more customers. President Biden today launching COVID.GOV, a one-stop website for information on testing sites, masks, antiviral pills, and vaccines. The president's focus on COVID comes as a new variant is emerging and against the backdrop of the FDA and CDC's approval of a second booster shot for people over age 50 and those with weakened immune systems. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest from Washington.
A fourth shot in the arm today for President Biden.
Didn't hurt a bit.
With the CDC now recommending a second COVID booster for Americans age 50 and up. The president urging Congress to pass billions of dollars in new COVID funding for vaccines, testing, and treatments, noting his administration has already had to cut back on some orders.
Americans are back to living their lives again. We can't surrender that now. Congress, please act.
That as public health experts warn we may be headed for another wave of infections. Cases are still declining in the U.S., but not as quickly, with the highly contagious BA.2 variant now the dominant strain, accounting for 55% of new cases. That's a 20% jump in just 1 week. The FDA also approved a second booster for people with weakened immune systems from certain underlying conditions.
Vaccines are incredible, but they naturally decrease over time.
Medical experts say if you've already had one booster, you may be able to wait a bit, depending on your health and your age, especially those over 65.
Pay attention to what's going on in your own community. If you start to see cases go up and you're in one of those risk groups, that's a time to think about getting a booster.
To help track the latest numbers in your community, the Biden administration is rolling out a new one-stop website, COVID.GOV, that also has information on masks, vaccines, testing, and treatment. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Hey Ophelia, did you hear that some changes are coming to speeding tickets?
That's right, speeders can soon rejoice. Coming up on WUFT News first at 5, Alachua County residents can soon save on their traffic ticket fees.
You're watching WUFT TV News.
Welcome back. Alachua County and the local school district may team up with Gainesville on a translation service for non-English speakers. The Blueprint for Immigration Inclusion plans to provide resources in 5 categories for non-English speaking residents. This includes safety, civic inclusion, language access, education, and health. The Gainesville Immigrant Neighbor Inclusion Project has been working on the blueprint for 15 months. The idea came after a 911 went poorly because of a language barrier. The plan was shared yesterday at a public meeting.
Instead of segregating opportunities for those that are Spanish speakers separated from English speakers, we need to be uniting together with information that goes out in multiple languages at the same time and prioritizes all people.
The city may commit $900,000 over the next 3 years just to try out the translation service.
A program coming to Alachua County will help get people back on the road. Operation Greenlight is an initiative to assist those with a suspended license or overdue ticket. The project will save drivers money on payments and reinstate their license. Those who participate could save up to 35% on collection fees. All you have to do is call or visit the county courthouse to get started. Alachua County Clerk of the Court Jess Irby says the operation will help put participants at ease.
It can really add up in a hurry, and so waiving those makes a big difference to a lot of individuals. And so hopefully they're able to get a valid license and then be able to cruise these streets without having to look over their shoulder anymore.
Operation Greenlight will take place from April 4th to April 8th in Alachua County, but other counties have their own versions, so call ahead to find out when. An American astronaut and 2 of his Russian counterparts have touched down in Kazakhstan after nearly a year on the International Space Station. Their return to Earth comes a month into Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which complicates the future of space cooperation. NBC's Sam Brock has more.
Despite obvious geopolitical tensions around the world, and certainly between the United States and Russia, there is one tie positively that seems to be binding these two countries regardless, and that is space. And history was made overnight, with NASA's Mark Vande Hei touching down after 355 consecutive days in space. That's a record for any American, and he came down with 2 Russian cosmonauts on a Russian Soyuz capsule in a remote part of Kazakhstan. We spoke with retired Space Commander Scott Kelly, who said, despite what is going on the ground, that these astronauts and cosmonauts have an emotional connection and friendship and certainly survival upon one another that transcends what's going on the ground. So that history was made. It is also notable that an agreement right now between the International Space Station and 5 different space agencies remains intact through 2024, but Russia so far has not committed to maintaining that relationship beyond 2024. One other thing of note, earlier this month, 3 Russian cosmonauts made headlines when they showed up at the International Space Station with yellow and blue on their spacesuits. Yellow and blue, of course, the colors of the Ukrainian flag. The Russian Space Agency says there's no connection to Ukraine. Sam Brock, NBC News.
It looks clear outside today, but severe weather is heading our way starting tomorrow.
Ashley Weinstein joins us after the break to walk us through the forecast.
Clear skies and a nice day today, but the severe potential for storms could start as early as tomorrow afternoon. More to come on this after the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
So we have these nice clear skies right now, hardly a cloud in the sky. A little bit warm for this time of year as those winds turn southerly. We are having an uptick in temperatures. Now right here we have our wind advisory, which is largely for the panhandle. However, we do have some advisory in our area as well. We are going to see the potential for severe weather largely starting as early as tomorrow afternoon. We have a cold front headed our way. That's going to pass Friday into Saturday. But as it comes into our area as early as tomorrow morning into the afternoon, we see these bright colors, which is the potential for severe weather. Now this is showing Thursday at 6 p.m. right over our area. So Thursday evening is when we can expect the largest of those wind gusts, and damaging wind gusts will be the biggest threat during this storm. There is also the potential for large hail. Now isolated tornadoes are expected to stay north and west of us, so we shouldn't have to worry about that, and that front is moving out of our area, but storms will persist through the weekend. This is just an overview of everything happening. There's a lot of counties in Florida as well as ours in Alachua and Marion that are experiencing these potential for severe threats starting tomorrow afternoon. So the buildup of this, yes, today it's warmer, those winds turning southerly, it feels nice outside. You would think this was a preview of our summer. However, those severe storms are expected to arrive tomorrow afternoon as that severe storm threat comes through our way. And those storm chances are going to persist into the weekend with large hail possible, but those damaging wind gusts once again are what we're most concerned about and we're tracking the closest. Now this is the temperature change within the last 24 hours. It's largely almost 10 degrees warmer for a lot of our area, and again that is from that southerly wind flow kind of mistaking us for summer-like conditions. So again, with this upcoming activity, I just want to reiterate, damaging gusts likely as early as tomorrow afternoon as that potential for severe storm threats comes into our area. Isolated tornadoes staying largely north and west of us. You can get alerts on your phone and stay updated in case anything changes from now until tomorrow when that activity comes through our area, and large hail is possible as well. Which brings me to my 6-day outlook. We could see it's going to be quite a rainy weekend as that front moves in and that potential for severe weather comes to us as early as tomorrow afternoon. Back to the desk.
Thanks, Ashley. The Gators softball team will be at home again tonight.
They'll face another top 25 opponent. More information on that game and more coming up in sports.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome to sports. I'm Julianna Reichenbach. Number 7 Gator softball hits the home diamond tonight. As of 4:15 p.m., the game was pushed back to 6:45 due to congested traffic between Gainesville and Orlando. The Gators have a rematch with UCF, a team they beat 12-11 earlier in the season. If it's another high-scoring game, the 27-5 Gators could look to Skylar Wallace. The redshirt junior is the most consistent hitter on the team. She bats a team-high .439 with 39 runs. The Gators are looking to bounce back from losing their first series of the season last weekend against number 11 Tennessee. Florida dropped their first 2 games to the Volunteers, but bounced back to win on Sunday. You can watch the Gators throw the first pitch at 6:45 p.m. on SEC Network Plus. Meanwhile, Gator baseball celebrates a win today over a big rival. Coming off a losing series at home against LSU, Florida found a victory again. Last night, the number 14 Gators played a neutral site game versus number 5 Florida State. 6 players, including star Judd Fabian, scored a run, lifting Florida to a 6-3 victory. The Gators are now 8-1 versus State of Florida teams. Up next, they begin a 3-game series tomorrow against number 23 Georgia. Gator men's basketball head coach Todd Golden hires his second assistant coach. New associate head coach Corey McRae previously spent time at other SEC schools in his career, like LSU and most recently Mississippi State. He's earned a reputation for being a top recruiter. In his time with the Bulldogs, McRae served as the primary recruiter for 3 top 100 signees. Golden said Monday that he expects his staff to be filled out by the weekend. Meanwhile, he's meeting with Gator players to talk about their futures. Speaking of that, today on WRUF Radio's Sports Scene Talk Show, one player told host Steve Russell he will return to Florida next season. Guard Niles Lane says he hopes to have a bigger role for Florida.
Coach Golden has seen enough film on me to where when I walked into the meeting, he had already known my game. He had already known a little bit about me and already had a plan as to how I'm going to fit within his program.
Lane says he's looking forward to working with Golden and thinks next year will be a good one. Gator football continues spring practice as it approaches a big day. Tuesday was their final practice before their first scrimmage on Thursday. The scrimmage, which will be closed to the public, will feature quarterbacks Anthony Richardson and Jack Miller. The two continue to battle for a starting position. Following practice, linebacker Brenton Cox Jr. talked about how he's been doing. Last season, Cox Jr. considered entering the NFL draft. He was told he would be a 3rd to 4th round pick. He believes he can do better and returned. Now, the former Georgia Bulldog says he's learning a lot from head coach Billy Napier.
How exact he is, how detailed he is. Everything has to be the right way or it's no way. So, that helped me with a lot with technique versus just coming off the edge, flying, trying to make a play. I actually got to sit down and know my work, know what I got to do.
Practice will continue Saturday. Meanwhile, the spring game is nearly 2 weeks away. Number 10 Gators lacrosse continues its road trip with this stop in Georgia. Florida faced off with the Mercer Bears today and won 19-5. American Athletic Conference Freshman of the Week Emma Pinto scored 5 goals. The Gators now move to 7-4 and boast a 5-game win streak. They'll finish off their 3-game road stint Sunday against Cincinnati. That's all for sports. Now back to you, Ophelia. Thanks, Julianna. And in the waterways on the Gulf Coast of Texas, one feathered fowl is a famous fugitive on the run for 17 years. Video shot by an environmental activist shows Pink Floyd, a flamingo that famously flew from the coop from a Kansas zoo in 2005. The flamingo's ID was confirmed by its numbered leg band. There are no plans to recapture Pink Floyd since it's been so long, and he seems to enjoy his great gig in the sky. And before we go, one last check on the weather.
I'm going to reiterate this buildup of what's happening here. We have the potential for severe weather starting as early as tomorrow afternoon. So today we are experiencing warmer and nicer weather. The strong storms are going to arrive tomorrow afternoon. Damaging wind gusts are likely. Large hail is possible, and those storm chances are going to persist through the weekend. Here's a look at your 6-day outlook. Back to the desk.
Thanks, Ashley. BBC World News is next, and the PBS NewsHour is coming up at 7.
But your Florida news is always on at WUFT.org. Have a great night.